Good afternoon. As the relatively newly minted president of the Institute, I can't really begin to describe how soul-nourishing this afternoon is. And you struggle every day, and by no means am I comparing the struggle of the work we do at the Institute with our award winners tonight, but you struggle every day, and to be able to get a drink of cool water and dignity and honor that these awardees represent is truly inspiring. I want to quickly acknowledge my friend and colleague Katrina vanden Heuvel, the editor and publisher of The Nation. The chair of the Institute's board, David Jones, is with us today. And I would be remiss if I didn't thank my staff who miraculously pulls off this luncheon, particularly the work of Taya Kitman and Ruth Baldwin, who really are magic. In an era where public life and far too many of the careers of public servants are colored by callow opportunism, cheap spectacle, and cowardice in the face of consequence, our Ridenhour Courage Prize winner is that rare someone whose life as a public servant has been animated and defined by a deeply personal and consistent ethical true north. He's possessed of a bedrock belief that by listening to his own better angels, he better serves the interests of his constituents and our nation. At every turn in his service as a U.S. Senator, Russ Feingold was never afraid to stand alone on principle, take an unpopular position, or fight an unpopular fight. He also stands as proof that having a moral purpose isn't synonymous with naivete or quixotic ineffectiveness. It is precisely by hewing to his principles, not indulging in the most craven kinds of deal-making, that have led Russ to be able to forge bipartisan action over the length of his entire political career. When Russ left the Senate, perhaps the single most conservative member of the body, Oklahoma Republican Tom Coburn, would mark the departure of the most progressive member of that body by saying, "One man of great integrity kept his word and held to his values through every crisis and every vote." Over his life in the Senate, Russ sometimes took stances that have sometimes left some of us grimacing. But those positions, too, have always clearly demonstrated that for him, principle comes first. He was the only Democratic senator to vote against a motion to dismiss Congress's impeachment of President Bill Clinton. Feingold said that prosecutors must have every reasonable opportunity to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that Clinton should be removed from office. After hearing their case, he voted against it, but he stood for the principle of the Congress's right to move that act. In 2001, Russ voted for the confirmation of Attorney General John Ashcroft. This decision, clearly not popular with his party, or I might add, I guess many in this room. But Russ explained that he voted that way based on his deeply held convictions of the Senate's constitutional role in confirmation and his respect for the right of any president to choose his cabinet. Russ is perhaps best known for his work alongside Senator John McCain on the Bipartisan Campaign Reform Act of 2002, better known as McCain-Feingold. But beyond his lifelong determination to arrest the deforming impact of unchecked money on our political system, Russ's courage and bravery in the U.S. Senate were proven time and time and time again. It was Feingold, Tom Harkin, and Robert Byrd who were the sole Democrats, along with Bernie Sanders of Vermont, to vote against confirmation of Timothy Geithner to be the U.S. Treasury Secretary. Russ Feingold was the only U.S. Senator to vote against the Patriot Act. Russ Feingold was one of 23 senators to vote against the resolution which authorized George Bush to go to war in Iraq in 2002. In August of 2005, Russ Feingold became the first senator to call for the withdrawal of troops from Iraq and urged that a timetable for that withdrawal be set. He called other Democrats, quote unquote, timid for refusing to take action sooner. And in March of 2006, Senator Feingold introduced a resolution in the Senate to censure President Bush in response to allegations of illegal wiretapping. Since leaving office, Russ continues to battle for principle. Last month, he called on General Electric CEO Jeff Immelt to resign his post as President Obama's Council on Jobs and Competitiveness chair in light of news that GE made $14 billion in profits last year, yet paid zero taxes. In February of this year, Russ announced he had formed a grassroots political action committee, Progressives United, a movement intended, amongst other things, to fight the deleterious impact of Citizens United on our democracy and our nation. And with our friends from AFSCME here, on behalf of them and on behalf of Lee Saunders, Russ was amongst the first to join with members fighting against the cynical actions of that state's governor in Wisconsin and all those who were fighting to steal workers' rights. A New York Times reporter asked whether, after so many years in office, whether Russ had become a career politician. The insinuation wasn't that perhaps Russ had become more concerned with getting reelected. The insinuation was he'd become more concerned with getting reelected than getting the people's business accomplished. Russ Feingold didn't flinch. He told the reporter, "If the question is, have I chosen a career as a legislator, the answer is yes. You can use a negative term for it if you want, but to me, public service is an honorable thing if you do it honorably. We are proud to give the Ridenhour Courage Prize to an honorable, able, brave public servant, Russ Feingold."